Buenas tardes. Welcome to La Palabra Poetry with Avenue 50 Studio. My name is Angelina Sáenz. I am your host for this afternoon with the mero, the one and only favorito, Matt Sedillo. He's going to be reading his poetry with us today. Before we begin, I will put the information for Matt's book in the comments on the recording for this afternoon. I want to thank Kathy from Avenue 50 Studio for continuing to make so much the current situation of quarantine and still art and Palabra is moving and culture. So thank you so much, Kathy, director of Avenue 50 Studio. So we're gonna go ahead and begin. You know, I had the wonderful fortune to meet Matt Sedillo actually 2 years ago in the Bay Area when I was in the Vona workshop. And I think immediately what struck me the most was, I was thinking if I should say this or not, but I kind of want to. So sorry if people get mad at me, but I feel like, you know, the thing that struck me about Matt is he has like the confidence of a white man. Hey, I don't know how to say that another way because so many of us struggle with like our insecurities, but you have this incredible vision and you believe in that vision. And I was thinking this morning and this is kind of corny, but somebody like when I was 18 was like, if you conceive and believe, you will achieve. And I think of that when I think of you. I just think you're constantly conceiving and you really believe and you're constantly achieving. So, you know, you're from El Sereno. I live, you know, in Northeast LA, and you're such an incredible example to all of us. So I hope that at some point you'll talk a little bit about where you come from because, you know, you have, you know, you don't have all these credentials that so many other people claim, yet you keep producing this incredible work and a narrative and a voice for our people. Thank you so much for that. The other thing that I really treasure about you is your humility. And the fact that you're always looking for ways to create space for all of us. So while you're, you know, being super chingon, you're also making space for all of us to be that as well. All right, so let me read your bio. Matt Sedillo has been described as the best political poet in America, as well as the poet laureate of struggle by academics and journalists alike. He is the current literary director of a Center for the Arts and author of Mowing Leaves of Grass. Go for it, my friend. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm gonna do three poems from here and then two poems from the upcoming manuscript called City on the Second Floor. So let's just get right into it. Sundown, Levittown, Fort Apache, Dirty Harry, John Wayne, Blackface, Minuteman, Moynihan, Gone with the Wind, Breaking Bad. Washington, Redskin, Confederate flag, the sword, the dollar, the cannon, the scholar, the cavalry, and the Ivy League history is written by lightning as the rising smoke of burning village. The ways and means victors keep their victims, a frontier thesis and notes on the state of Virginia extraction, expansion, the winning of the West, Lewis and Clark, Smith and Wesson, encircle the wagon with bloodshed and slave sweat, the crack of the whip, the law of 3/5, the Crown Republic, King Cotton, the intended failures of Reconstruction, the housing covenants, the greedy great migration did the same to the Mexicans and poor Mexico. So far from heaven and so close to Monroe Doctrine. To Davy Crockett, to prison industrial complex, a war on drugs is a war on our young. Bloody Christmas, reefer madness, 15 to life for 4 ounces, East Oakland, West Baltimore, South La Brea, and Auburn North, Plymouth Rock, Jamestown, Rio Grande, stolen lives, stolen land. So this next poem I'm gonna do is a poem from the upcoming manuscript, City on the Second Floor. The rich, well, they're not like you and me. They see an opportunity, they grab it. Reach for the stars and they put them in their pocket. Company stays in the red, but they're backed by the government. North Public Diamonds, the lines of pure profit, research and development. The rich, well, they're a different breed. Champagne wishes and caviar dreams, thoroughbred stallions, quarter-billion mansions on the sea, Deepwater Horizon, blood diamonds, golden parachutes, silicon messiahs feasting on endangered species served on silver platters and winter palaces carved from the tips of icebergs, six-figure charters, vulture capital, million-dollar couplings, but life like an apple, insured by suicide nets, lifestyles of the criminally negligent, but you haven't lived. So you've launched a car into space for no fucking reason. That's what I call freedom. The rich, well, here's how it is. Dollars and cents. Trademark and rent. Facts and figures, lines on a ledger, derivatives and debt, building the future, increasing productivity, union busting back to the 100-hour work week, trimming the fat, producing monopolies with real money, shores and bets. And that, my friend, is how the rich stay rich, while the rest make poor decisions in its pure ecstasy. Living in the lap of luxury, pushing pharmaceuticals to market. The market will bear your body to its altar, life or death bargain, the gospel of wealth, because it is what it is, and that's all it's ever been. The less we spend, the more we keep. You see, the rich and the poor, well, they're just like you and me. 2 hands, 2 feet. The sky, the sea, and everything between, one heart that beats in the time to make the most of it, so you'll find no sympathy. Reaching into these deep pockets, all we ever asked was our fair share, and God damn it, that's all of it. So we out on the streets screaming for peace and justice. We sleep in satin sheets, dreaming free and guiltless over oceans and tariffs, liquidating pensions and off to bid on porcelain portraits at billion-dollar auctions. You know you need us. You know we're selling your secrets. You know still send us DNA kits, watching the puppets on television debate freedom, free speech, fascism, democracy. We're reaching the earth, punch the ozone with space stations. Yes, space stations hydrating the red planet. We're gonna survive this loud because you got pots and pans, we got deeds and plans, chopping down rainforest, colonizing the moon. We're the rich. Who the fuck are you? We'll privatize the water supply, then copyright the tears falling from your eyes. Burn it all down. What the hell are you talking about? The ice caps already melting. You want to start some shit? Eat the rich. We're already killing your kids. One carbon footprint, one gas house emission, one oil rig, one naval ship, one free trade agreement at a time. And we'll get away with it too. Nothing we say or do is ever held against us. Haven't you been paying attention? We're rich. And so here's another poem from Mowing Leaves of Grass. Some were born in summer homes and palatial groves where pain was only to unfold from the pages of secret garden to reverend groves, but not I. So I come from the stock of star-eyed astronauts who greet the night sky with big dreams and wide eyes, always running down the devil's highway through occupied America, on the way back to house on Mango Street, and those are the books he wants to read. There's a handball up the back wall of a panaderia born east the river post Mendez versus Westminster, one generation with the red lines, and diplomas that were signed that those dreams and that skin need not apply. See, I come from struggle. If my story offends you, as long as you made the mistake of seeking your reflection in my self-portrait, see this, well, this may not be about you. For some are born in the common core. Reflected faces grace the pages of doctrines discovered and ages to be explored. World hardships crashed against new shores, New England, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York. For others, pushed off Turtle Island, Aslan. Do not call this brown-skinned immigrant. Child of the sun, son of the conquest, Mexicano blood, running through the veins east side of Los Angeles. Do not tell him in native tongue the song will best be sung. Do not tell me who I am, because I was raised like you. Miseducated in some very same schools off lessons and legends of honest Indians and Christian pilgrims and a nation of immigrants all united in freedom. That is until they pulled aside my white friend, pointed directly at me and said, Scott, I judge you by the company you keep and you spend your time with this. And the same old story, it's 1846. The adventures of Uncle Sam, the stick-up man in wetback. Show me your papers, now give me your labor, the melting pot. It's not made for the hands that clean it. The American dream has always come at the expense of those who tucked it in. You don't know that. So don't teach it. Could write you a book, but you won't read it, so you know what this is about you. In 1492, in the Treaty of Guadalupe, in California missions and Arizona schools, these racists that try to race us as raise their kids in cities that bear our names. That you can learn some days from Ferdinand to Minuteman, from Arpaio to Alamo, from Popo Vudo to Joaquin the Indian. So lives in me from May 8th to 1643, try to bury us. They didn't know we were seeds. Canea Mines, Lino Strike, the Blandeala, Mizpata, Joaquim Murrieta, Las Adelitas, Brown Berezi, Zapatistas, from Richard Nixon to Third Napoleon, from Peckinpah to Houston, from Lone Star Republic to Christopher Columbus, all the way down to Donald Trump. We didn't cross the borders crossed us. Who you calling immigrant, pilgrim? And this next one is from the collection coming out soon, called City on the Second Floor. And this is a shorter one, and it's called Lady Winchester. Get it up. One second here. So this poem, Lady Winchester, actually took from it's kind of a, what do you call it? Those things where poets devote another poet to a poem that's kind of similar to someone another poem. They say it's after. So maybe this poem would be against. So it's not really after; it's more against. But it's based on Yeats's Sailing to Byzantium. So it's Lady Winchester. That is no country for guilt and conscience, laughing, learning in summer near lakes named in remembrance of murder. The young, in their way, stand as living monuments to generations of forgetting, and age truth unrenewed is a thing of genocide. The naming of avenue, the making of highway, the forging of boulevard, the beginnings of national origins, celebrations, psyches, bodies of literature, schools of cinema standing in pools of blood, O pioneer. This is no place for honest reflection. And I have therefore traveled north towards doors and staircases that lead nowhere, filled with rooms that reach for the dead, passageways to escape their revenge. Once I heard the story of Lady Winchester, building her mansion until the day she died. At a time, a marvel destination for escape artists, today sold as mystery to travelers and tourists, as curiosity as to what is past and passing, and they too in their way stand as living monuments. Here, in a home built by rifles, in the great American tradition, known to run from ghosts.
All right. Okay. So I think in the poem where, you say, who are you calling an immigrant pilgrim? Your poems, cover 500 years of history, right? So we're at this moment right now on the planet and in this country where there is a feeling of like, oh, all hell is breaking loose and it's crazy. And of course, there is like, incredible uncertainty. But I guess I want to ask you, as an artist, as a historian, what is is all hell breaking loose? And what do you think for yourself as an artist is your role at this time?
Well, I think that yeah, I do think that we get these moments, these cracks in the history of various places, and particularly in this country. I think there's a real kind of moment right now where there are opportunities, because the way we're taught history is that it's kind of a linear thing. Like, one thing happens, another thing happens, and in the United States, we're taught that it's like this constant motion towards a more just world, right? A more just country and a more just world in general. But that's not necessarily the case. I mean, like, I think that when we look at like particularly the rise of Donald Trump and what he represents, and just rhetorically what he represents, it's worse than it was in a time before that. So it's obviously, it goes in kind of it goes in these spurts. It's like it's always bad and it gets worse, right? So that's kind of like the U.S. It's always bad and it gets worse,
Mm.
and so that's kind of we're in one of those little pockets right now, and I think that um, you know the ultimate thing is that we got to fight the system as a whole. We got to fight the system as a whole, because it's going to keep producing these cycles of bad to worse, 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 and then you're going to live in bad and think that it's good. You're going to think that it's great. You're going to live in bad and think that it's paradise. um, so like that's kind of I think that we're in a moment where people have been added this kind of insult to injury, and that has kind of motivated them out of the streets to fight in ways they might not if it was like pacification with injury, right? So
Mhm.
that's kind of a kind of a different feel. So I think that we're in that moment right now, and I think that as an artist, for me, what I felt really responsible to, was when I wrote Mowing Leaves of Grass, was that I saw that the rise of particularly with Trump, wasn't going to be just him. That this was going to happen over and over and over again. Because what it really was, there was something really specific that caught my attention, which was the fact that this guy began his campaign saying Mexico is sending drug dealers and rapists, and then made building a wall with Mexico, and the idea that Mexico was going to pay for the wall, right? Which was not really a real promise, but that was more like a psychic thing. It was more like, they're going to pay for this, for all they've done to us. They're going to pay. Now, what I was caught my attention was, this is a way to get elected president. Now, in the past, that was a way to get the governor of Texas, the governorship of Arizona, maybe win a mayorship somewhere in Orange County. But now it's becoming a way to become the president of the United States of America, to make that your centerpiece. and that has not been historically true in the last, like 100 years or whatever. So like that was really really notable. And it was like, well, wait a minute, it's not him. These politics are not going to go anywhere, because the thing that's making them national is the fact that by 2040 we're looking at the United States of America becoming what they call a minority majority nation, right? When the largest group of people within that are these, brown people with Spanish surnames, right? So that's kind of like the number one in terms of your bodies and people and stuff. And so like that was really like, I felt like, well, this is really important that I write a book that is really focused and targeted around these questions of like, it's kind of these politics around taco trucks on every corner, and that I do that. And then it took on the name Mowing Leaves of Grass because I wrote a poem, because I wanted to write a poem where like Jorge Gonzalez was a hero and Walt Whitman was the villain, right? So I wanted to write this poem where it was like, you're being forced to learn a certain you're being forced to learn about poetry through the lens of somebody that would have hated people like you, right? So that's Walt Whitman. And I wanted to write this thing where it was fight back, and then like Mowing Leaves of Grass just became the title. So the interesting thing is I've gotten a lot of pushback from that, because a lot of people view Walt Whitman as like the answer to Donald Trump, right? Because they see Walt Whitman as this like great hero of liberal America, of what's good about America, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But Walt Whitman has said enormously terrible things about a number of people. But one of the things he also said was that, what is miserable, inefficient Mexico to do with the grand mission of people in the new world with a noble race? So there's some more words in there, but that's the chunk of it, right? And so he was a huge proponent of the Mexican-American War as well as Manifest Destiny. So I don't really make a distinction between Walt Whitman and Donald Trump. I just see them both as part of this historical continuum that is an attack on people, like that is an attack on the community. So so I decided to call it Mowing Leaves of Grass, because it is a book of poetry, and I figured like, the whole point of the whole thing was to kind of tip over the like what's called the Western canon, and say that we need a new set of people to like, be these like, guiding examples of the way we should be, of this new understanding of like, when we think about like our own history, our own, our own story, we can point to certain like highlights and being like, okay, that's point to certain highlights and role models is like, that's what we should be like. We shouldn't try to be like Walt Whitman.
Wow. All right. Thank you for answering that, my friend. So please, let's close out with your poems that you're going to share. And thank you for joining us for a brief moment to share your work and your mind and your heart. I really appreciate you.
All right, so I'll do the poem I was talking about, Mowing Leaves of Grass. Here we go.
All right.
I am the as yet written vengeance of Elvira Valdez, the best laid plans of Modesta, the reckoning of Santa Cruz, San Isidro, Bisbee, Chandler, Porvenir, the blood, sweat, and tears of all that I refuse to forget. I am that unpaid debt. No sidekick, no subplot, no mascot, no ethnic study. The universe I embody, the ground above me, the sky beneath my feet. Watching las calles y las estrellas, a circular calendar, sleep dealings, quiero y veras past, the future and the present, and la quecha, all at once, because the moment I'm you, you are me, and we are two clenched fists that still lit fire, sacred kept. The final breath's called Last Fighting Aztec, laughing in the face of death. The blade of El Pachuco guarding the temple steps, the strength of memory, the promise tomorrow. Yo soy Chicano, Chicano soy, donde me lleves. El Chicano voy, the only thing's important. Critical to rehabilitation for the way in which you entered this world. Read Thomas Jefferson or else you get pregnant. Standards and practices. Curriculum instruction, you the product of public education, do not erupt or you lay cuffed, face first the pavement like your father, your grandfather, your mother, your Nina, your tío, so you learn your lessons. It's not personal. It's all you people. Don't get mad. Don't be hurt. Don't make this political. It's economic. Objective. The law of self-interest, if we let you in, will become the canon, the classics, Alexander, Napoleon, who shelved the wit and wisdom, but Franklin, Shelley, Shakespeare, Chaucer, Walt Whitman from the Palmanic, starting with his miserable, inefficient Mexico to the grand mission. New world. The noble race, you fought. You lost. You don't get to find this. It's not racism, it's progress, providence, and God willing, you filthy mongrels, it is just the way it is. Look at you. It's color. It's labor. It's cops and robbers, guards and convicts, institutions, corrections, schools, local prisons, caged apartments, cost of living, cost of being brown is high as wage set the rent. Forget your savage tongue. I will teach you robust American love. Spoon feed you speaks freedom of speech. Don't drink a joke and speak to authority. Show you who you are in a book. You believe it because I said it. Now you read it. Who you question the canon, the classics, Lowry, Kerouac, walk out in the great white brilliance of Garfield, Roosevelt, Lincoln. Now listen, is poor in the universe. As a muralist. The cosmos, our self-portrait. Starting a curandera. Ransante, A poet, laureate, a stylist, a mechanic, the barrio dandy, cruising the rings of Saturn to travel, tips of Torres, Carrasco, tearing the curtain on Union Station, Joaquin, returning triumphant, marching through halls of Tucson, mowing down leaves of grass. Fuck Walt Whitman. This is Art LeBeau, dedication to Frida, Selena, Cantinflas, Luis Rodriguez, Valdez, Sorana, Sandra Anzandua, the mighty Quinn, to all that we are and all that we've been through, lifetimes and timelines, galaxies, dimensions of pride, pain, and resistance. In Gothic are the solar showers and the days of living music when the people of the sun were dancing to the tune of Valenzuela and Luna. Was a calavera as the ancestors welcome the future with the circular calendars. Where I'm you. You are me, sitting at a desk, looking to the stars, searching for the end. The poem never began, but always was, and forever shall be.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you, friend. To be continued. I know we have the rest of our life to poesía. So we will be together again. Thank you, Matt. Have an amazing Sunday. And por favor, call and this man, reach out to him on social media to or on your website, right, friend?
Yeah, website.
Yeah.
Website,
So
yeah.
I'll post the book and the ordering information. And have an amazing Sunday. Gracias.
Thank you.
Have a good one.